So I was part of the food insecurity group and I did the access subtopic. What I'm going to be covering today is what is food access, why is it important, and then food deserts, food access in the United States and what they're doing about it in government settings, and then also how it affects children. So food access, what is it? So according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, it is a basic human right. And proper food access really just means access to fresh, affordable, culturally appropriate, healthy food. So it doesn't mean just having a McDonald's down the street or maybe a corner store that only sells apples and oranges and the rest is all chips and stuff. So that's not proper access. So why is it important? It's a great deal contributing to food insecurity. It's one of the biggest health issues or biggest issues leading to obesity because if you don't have access to healthy foods, then you're going to be eating uh, things that are unhealthy. So poor selection of healthy foods and a wide selection of unhealthy foods. Also, there's many higher prices on those unhealthy foods when they can do that. If there's only one store, they can charge whatever they want. And then also, a lot of people have to travel to supermarkets outside of their communities, which can be a real problem. So the biggest thing that I want to touch on right now is transportation. So it's one of the largest issues leading to access. So who here has to buy their own groceries and make their own food? So what stores do you guys normally shop at? Aldi? How do you get there? How about car? Yeah, so what if you don't have a car? Where do you have to shop? Target, maybe downtown, where the prices are much more expensive, or the bread garden, where prices are astronomical, in my opinion. Um, so that's really some barriers to transportation. Like, you don't have a car. I don't have a car. My parents didn't buy me a car, so I have to find rides anytime I can to Hy-Vee. So now I'm going to talk about food deserts. So what is a food desert? It's a geographic area where residents have little to no convenient options for sourcing affordable and nutritious foods, especially fresh fruits and vegetables. And then they are found often in areas of high poverty, and then they also create more barriers, so it affects children, families, and communities in maintaining good health and unity. So I found this little graphic. So there's a fast food trading post. They have, it's kind of like a McDonald's, is kind of how I see it. And then if you want to get vegetables, fruits, or even to the supermarket, you got to go a long way because it's the desert. Where are they located? They're generally located in areas of smaller populations, higher rates of deserted or unoccupied homes, and residents who have lower levels of education, lower incomes, and higher rates of unemployment. So I'm also looked into the racial inequity with food access, and it, there was a study by Johns Hopkins University, and they compared many different urban areas with the same or similar poverty levels. And Black communities had the least amount of supermarkets, white white communities had the most, and then multiracial fell right in the middle. So these communities all had about the same different poverty levels, and obviously access totally changed with the so how are they identified? There's a variety of ways to identify and distance to store and number of stores. Also, household resources, including family income and vehicle availability, touching back to that transportation we just talked about. And then neighborhood resources, like the average income of the neighborhood or availability of public transportation, whether there's a bus to a grocery store, and a lot of rural communities don't have that option. And then the U.S. Department of Agriculture identifies them by looking to see if 33% or a third or more of residents must travel an inconvenient distance. In the inconvenient distance, they decided was 1 mile in urban areas and 10 miles in rural areas. So just think about if the nearest grocery store was 10 miles away and you had no car, maybe a bike, but no public transportation. And how many Americans live in these low income and low access communities? So I looked into the USDA's recent food access research report, and 12.8% of the US population live in low income and low access areas, and 6.2% of the nation's population have limited access to supermarket or grocery stores. This is something that the government decided to do. It was a healthy food financing initiative. It was a program that invested more than $500 million to help bring grocery stores and healthy food retailers to underserved communities. It intends to provide major improvements to help these food deserts get the resources that they need so they no longer are. Unfortunately, though, this was like a one-time thing, so trying to get them to renew it has been a recent topic of discussion. And then how does it affect children? So it can lead to dietary deficiencies, so that can limit their physical growth and cognitive development, and psychosocial stressors. So it increases their susceptibility to illness, and then also their growth through critical development periods. So there's kids going to school and limited food access, and how does that affect them mentally? But it is shown that children ages 6 and older, because they're in elementary school, they have greater access to food because of school provided meals, and a lot of schools, I believe all schools in the US, have a free lunch program. So what can you do? There's a ton of different ways that you can help with food access, but work towards developing and promoting local policies. Vote. Help with developing nutrition programs. There's so many, even on campus, there's many different clubs that are helping with food access in our community, but statewide, nationwide, there's a million programs. And then assist in establishing new locations for offering healthy food. So food pantries, let's stop just sticking to mac and cheese and cake mix and pasta. How about some fruits and vegetables and meats, or even frozen vegetables, stuff with nutritious value. So in conclusion, food access is determined among consumers, and it's determined by spatial accessibility and the affordability of food retailers. And this is relative to the access to transportation and socioeconomic resources of the food buyer. And the most important factors contributing to proper food access are travel time to shopping, availability of healthy foods, and the food prices. And here's my favorite.